Hello and welcome to the worst of LEGO Star Wars 2023. My name's Gabe, and I just wanted to take this time at the end of the year, now that all of the sets have been released, to look back on what we've had this year and just see what's been good, what's been bad. In this video, we are going to focus on the bad. The 5 things that I think were the worst mistakes that LEGO made in this year. So without further ado, let's get to it. The UCS X-Wing did not go over very well when it was first released. This was the third version of the X-Wing that LEGO's made for the UCS line, and I'm not honestly sure that it's the best one. The first thing that I think was a flop in this set was the box art. I understand that this was a reference to the first UCS X-Wing, but I just think in this day and age it looks pretty bad. It looks photoshopped. It looks like a poor Photoshop job, honestly. And the angle of this just looks terrible. When I compare it to the 2013 model, I mean, this box art looks awesome. It puts you in the scene. It's a top view of the ship, whereas this is a side view of the ugly parts of it. I don't understand what went into this thought process for designing this box, but it does not make me think that this is going to look better than this. I had this set. I haven't built this one, to be fair. I sold this one in preparation for that one coming out. And I'm not so sure with the proportions and everything that it will look better. The jury's still out on it, but I do think the marketing failed this set. I'm a big minifigure fan, and a lot of the decisions that I make about whether to buy a certain set or not are based around whether they have a compelling minifigure selection, and there have been a few sets in 2023 that just did not bring it with the figures. First of these was Yoda's Jedi Starfighter, including Yoda and R2-D2, two very common minifigures. In fact, just 7 years ago, this set, the same set basically, was released, and it had the exact same 2 figures with almost no changes made in 2023. If I had this set from 2016, what would compel me to buy this? I could be compelled by some really great figures that could have been included, like Darth Bane. That would have been amazing. Or even one of the Force priestesses that Yoda meets on his journey in those episodes in Season 6 of the Clone Wars. Either one of those things would have made this a potential buy for me. The next one is the Mandalorian Fang Fighter and TIE Interceptor, rather. This set is cool, but it had 4 figures, it's $100, and these 2 are not that interesting. This one, Mandalorian himself, cool, but he's in a bunch of other sets. This was really the only figure that's unique and interesting, and he is cool looking, but the character is his role in Season 3 is very minor. I personally think that they should have added or replaced him with Axe Woves and Casca Reeves. These 2 have been a lot more significant in The Mandalorian thus far than this character. I don't even remember his name. These 2 were in Season 2. They were in Season 3. Casca Reeves was even in the Season 2 finale of Mandalorian, helping to rescue Grogu, so she's even more important. And both of them are cool-looking figures, and they would have gone really well in a Mandalorian Season 3 collection, and I think one or both of them should have been included in that set. The next one would be the midi-scale Executor Super Star Destroyer. Maybe midi-scale doesn't get minifigures, I don't know, but personally for me, I would have bought this set if it had included just one figure, and that would be Admiral Piet. He hasn't been seen since the UCS Super Star Destroyer and since in 2011, which I don't have. And so it's been 12 years or plus since we've seen him. He's maybe the most significant Imperial officer from the original trilogy besides Tarkin, because he was in Episode 5 and Episode 6 commanding the Executor. And even they consider this a Return of the Jedi set, and he is commanding it in the battle of the second Death Star. So it would have been really cool if he was included, a very simple figure for them to make, but a very significant one as well. The next one is the Pirate Snub Fighter. $35, really should include a third figure, just like Yoda Starfighter. The Pirate is cool, but definitely I think it should have included another one. Gorian Shard was an easy one that comes to mind. He was a really cool looking pirate from Season 3 that was in league with the pirates in the set. Maybe LEGO didn't know about him, though, when they were making it. But an obvious one that was very much in the trailers would have been Season 3 Grief Karga. That would have been a very cool figure to get as well. So far, it made Season 1 and Season 2 appearances of him, and it would have been really cool to get him as well. Either one of these two would have made this set a much more interesting and compelling thing to purchase. And the final one for me on this category of lacking minifigure selections is the TIE Bomber. Way overdue for a TIE Bomber, really great set, but I was not compelled by these figures. I have a bunch of Vaders, I have a bunch of TIE pilots, and the Gonk Droid, I have several of those as well. Rey Sloane is interesting, but obviously not in the original trilogy. It's cool to get her. She's very unique, but there are other Imperial officers that have not been seen ever from Empire Strikes Back that were significant, who could have been included additional to these 4, or really 3 figures. For me, the one that was really missing from this would be Captain Needa. He's the one who's in the scene where the TIE bombers are bombing the asteroid field. He is hunting for the Falcon, and he's the one who does apologize to Darth Vader after the Falcon escapes and hides aboard the Star Destroyer. So he has never been made as a figure, and it would be cool. Again, another very easy figure for LEGO to make, and would have been I would have bought this set if Captain Needa was in it. Next, some of the builds this year have been poor, inaccurate, and underwhelming. First of all, I'd say the Endor Speeder Chase diorama. I think it looks pretty cool. It's a nice little display piece, but for the price, for $80, this looks just tiny. I really do think that it should be, if you're going to charge $80, it should have more of a presence, and this set just is underwhelming in that way. Next one would be the Spider Tank. I think the build of the tank itself is really cool. However, it is inaccurate in that it's missing some significant components of the scene that it's trying to portray. The first big one would be this cyborg creature. I think it'd be cool to have gotten a build of him with the printed eye. He's the one, you could have him going inside of the spider tank, like in the scene, and then you could have Bo-Katan fighting him. Also, there's a cage that he captures Mando in, and the cage is gone as well, and not to mention Grogu 100% should have his pram, because in this sequence, he flees from the scene and gets Bo-Katan in his pram. At this point, he needs to have his little pod. The next one would be the Yavin 4 Rebel Base. As great as it is to have Yavin 4 as a set finally, I think the build really suffers from being meant for 8 and up. This is a $170 set, which really should be geared more toward adults, because little kids, 8-year-olds, probably aren't going to be spending $170 on one set. And that's the price point for adult collectors. And this build just doesn't impress, frankly. The tree looks like it's in a 4+ set, and it's based on this really cool structure that's rounded. The set is flat. It looks very simplistic. Very underwhelming to me. And it's unfortunate that it is, because we probably won't be getting something like this in a while. And last but not least, the Chewbacca speaks for itself. The fur design is really neat. I like the way the fur looks, but the face, I mean, this is $200. No one was asking for this. It just doesn't look good. LEGO Star Wars had some very awesome figures in various sets this year, but there were a few that were very lacking in detail or inaccurate in certain ways. The first of these is Padme from the Coruscant Guard gunship. It's a great figure. It's good to have another Padme. Very good, in fact. But they decided to once again use the Jyn Erso face print on her instead of giving her an accurate face to Natalie Portman. As you can see here, this is the face from 2016's Jyn Erso, 2017 as well, and they just reused it. Jyn Erso is a main character in Star Wars, and she should have her own face. Padme is a main character in Star Wars, and she 100% should have her own face as well. They, in fact, did have a face print for Padme back in the 2013 gunship, and honestly, it would have been better if they had just reused this instead of reusing this. The next one would be Jason Syndulla. It's really cool to get him. He was an awesome character in the Ahsoka show. However, LEGO, for some reason, gave him a brown hairpiece, while in the show, it's very clear that he has green hair, as he did in Rebels. I'm not sure why they did this, except that they probably just didn't want to recolor a hairpiece, and that, to me, is a blatant inaccuracy. The next figure on the bad list would be Endor Luke from the Endor Speeder Chase. LEGO decided not to use a cloth poncho piece for him as they had done with Leia in the past, and instead they printed on his poncho, but that also required some changes to the arms and legs that did detract from the quality of the figure. If you can look at the costume that they're going after, the poncho goes over the black outfit that he wears all the way through the movie. And so when they did this, they had to print this little strip of black on the forest green, tan, whatever this is, color. And so he doesn't have his black boots or his legs, and it just looks kind of derpy. And the same is true of these arms. It'd be probably better if they were black. If they had put a poncho piece on, they could have had the black arms, had the black legs, and it would have been a far, far more accurate figure. And the final and probably most egregious to me is Boba Fett from the Microfighter. We've seen this figure before. This is probably the third time that he's been in a set, and yet they still haven't fixed the blatantly inaccurate helmet and jetpack piece that should be the same color as his darker green armor. As you can see here, all the way through, he's the main character of a Star Wars show, and they make his figure look like trash by not recoloring the figure. For some quick honorable mentions, we have the dreaded mechs. They were in Marvel, and now they're here in LEGO Star Wars. Time will tell if they're here to stay, but they definitely took up a lot of space in the August wave that could have gone to other things, and a lot of fans have not enjoyed these sets. They're certainly not something that I would be buying anytime soon. The only reason they're honorable mentions is because I could see some kids perhaps enjoying playing with them, although regular action figures probably would be less likely to break on them if they're meant for play. And then the other one is May the 4th. While this was a great thing, and it was cool to have a Death Star 2 represented in the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, we had just gotten back a minifigure in May the 4th. After many, many years of builds and lackluster things, we got back to the golden age of LEGO Star Wars, May the 4th promos, and now we went back after 1 year to a promo with no minifigure. This set would have been absolutely perfect if they had included Moff Jerjerrod or one of the other Imperial officers that we haven't seen before. Jerjerrod was in charge of the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi, and we've never had him as a figure. Would have been really cool to have him and very easy to make. Another honorable mention for me would be the skew of this year toward very, very expensive sets. It seemed like they released a bunch of very highly priced play sets. 170, 160, 140, 110, 100, 100, 80, 80. Even $80 to me is on the expensive side, and very few sets that were in the mid-range. If you take out the helmets and the MIDI scale, just for regular play sets with minifigures, all you had was the TIE Bomber and the Spider Tank, and that's pretty much it for mid-range sets. There were a few smaller ones. I just think that LEGO missed out on a lot of the market who can't afford these bigger sets, but want some really cool sets with some figures for a decent $50 to $70 range. And if you look in years past, there's just some great examples of sets in this range that LEGO made in the past and that went over really well. And I just think LEGO missed out by not having this type of set included this year. And finally, the biggest problem that LEGO Star Wars had in 2023 is clones. Now, don't get me wrong, it's awesome that we're getting as many clones as we are, and LEGO's given the Clone Wars a lot of love in recent years, and that's wonderful. But there are some serious problems that have been very repetitive with these clone troopers that would be easy to fix, and LEGO really needs to address them sooner than later, because they're dividing the fan base over this great thing that should be very, very well received in the fandom. In a $650 Venator Star Destroyer set with only 2 figures, Captain Rex should not be getting a printed waist cape. For years, LEGO would give cloth waist capes to every clone trooper that had a waist cape that they were representing. This is one of the most amazing clone troopers that LEGO ever made, and part of the reason is because it had this accurate-looking waist cape. The same is true of the 212th Airborne. Captain Rex's waist cape is a big part of his costume, and LEGO just putting these 2 strips on without it going around to the other sides, it just looks worse. And we should be getting better as the years go on, and as the detailing process gets better and not worse. With the Coruscant Guard gunship, we have some serious issues. Again, biggest one would be Commander Fox. Although I think he's an all right looking figure, there are some serious inaccuracies, including this middle white strip, which just blatantly is wrong. It should be red. Now, looking at the figure, you don't really notice that, but if you're comparing it, I mean, I don't see how LEGO could have made that mistake. And then the other one would be the same issue with Rex, another printed waist cape, when he should have a nice cloth waist cape like they used to have. The 332nd clones, I mean, they have the helmet holes like every other clone does, and a lot of people hate them. I don't personally love them. I wish the holes would be down on where the holes should be. The attachment for the helmet, there's the double hole is what really bothers me, but I like the customizability. I don't, however, think that Captain Vaughn looks any good. His helmet in the show looks far better than this, and it has a cool Ahsoka print on it, and this figure is a sorry excuse for Captain Vaughn, frankly. The 501st clone pack had it skimped out in a lot of different ways. The officer should have had a shoulder piece, and again, the printed waist cape. You've got these guys should have had a shoulder piece too. I mean, this is what they're based off of. These guys look really cool, and these guys look very bare bones compared. And even the heavy troopers probably should have had a satchel of some sort, because to hold all the artillery and everything, and that would have been pretty easy for LEGO to include, but it's just not here. So if LEGO would fix some of these issues and make clones as great as they used to be, I think everyone in the fandom would be far, far happier. So that's all for my gripes for 2023 LEGO Star Wars. I hope you enjoyed. Just be aware I'm not a totally negative guy. I have a video of positive things that I liked about 2023 on the way, and I would say that there was a lot more to like in this year than to not like. There's just a few things LEGO could fix, and it's just constructive criticism. But there is a lot to look forward to in the future. I just threw up some totally random Star Wars pictures that I found on the internet to end the video here for your enjoyment. But as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching. May the Force be with you.